Well, hello again, guys. Thank you so much for joining me once again on the 1940 Chevrolet pickup resto mod-ish project vehicle. Last time we ended up with assembled rear springs. We put the rear axle in there, made sure that was going to look okay. We put the engine, the transmission in there, kind of got an idea of cross members, battery box, headers, water pump and radiator and fan. We kind of got a good idea with what's going to work there. Still have the grill set up there. The last thing I want to do before I take everything back apart is I am going to throw the cab up there. I have it swinging in the wind here from the cherry picker, so we're going to, if that thing goes high enough to lift that cab up on the frame, that is what we are going to do first. Then we're going to take everything back off, modify what we need to modify, and I want to end up with paint on the frame, maybe get the rear suspension going so that we can put this on some paws on the ground, you know. So anyway, come along and let's get into some trouble here. I've already removed the gearbox, but definitely passenger side on the driver's side is going to be the way to go. And then their collector, they so nicely welded at an angled piece of pipe in there, which works out great for my purposes because we got an infinite number of options because this collar spins. Infinite number of options on how to point that thing. I think ultimately we are touching the mount right there. Just a little bit of notch, probably in the collector flange is the way I would go. I mean, very eighth of an inch or less will take care of it, get a gap in there. But that ought to be able to shoot that exhaust. I bet I could even get it straight down if I need to. Although that puts that bolt hole right overlapping the motor mount. But I think we're going to get it. Well, just playing around here a little bit before I take everything off the frame. Through the grill and radiator up here, obviously through my water pump that came with my Marsh serpentine belt kit on here, the pulley. I found a fan upstairs that goes on the shaft, but it does not bolt up to that water pump. That's okay. I just want an idea of what I was dealing with, and I'm very encouraged and pleased. We have tons of room. I think I could even put a clutched fan in here yet. I'm going to have to see, but we've got several inches to go there yet, so I could probably get away with it. Also, I will be replacing this. I would like to get a copper radiator. They just cool better. I'm going to get an integrated transmission cooler into it because it just makes more sense than having an auxiliary one zip tied somewhere else, you know. I would like to lower the radiator 3.5 or 4 inches, whatever we've got down there, get that more in line with the fan. And then I will build a shroud with whatever we end up with. I will build a shroud, and this thing ought to cool really nicely. Obviously, if I had to, I would go to an electric fan, but I just really prefer this. And if at all possible, if the budget allows it, go with a copper radiator. Those two things are just more reliable. They're quieter. They cool better. It's just, in my opinion, just better. You know, I think we are going to get away with it, which is excellent news. Now, in the motor mount instructions, they said you can use HEI if it is the small HEI version or a regular points style distributor. And yeah, they're probably right. At first I thought, man, there looks like plenty of room for a HEI, but that doesn't matter. We have a small style with the intake that we are using. Now, I did not do any cab mounts other than I put the springs and rubber bushing materials underneath the back so that was where it belongs. The jack is just resting there, it's not holding it up. And so there is no rubber pad cab mounts under the front end here. So technically this will be lifted up slightly more, which will only help that. But as it is, you know, 1/4 inch on the rear head clearance. And I mean, it seems like it's gonna work. The toe board, I'm not sure what guys typically do. Looks like it will need a very shallow tunnel, some kind of affair. I'm thinking of getting a shifter that mounts on the case as opposed to on the floor. We'll see what I end up with, but that would be cool. Parking brake, I don't know if there's something I can build or make that can mount that over there, but anyway, this confirms what I needed to confirm, so I guess we can pull it back off again. So the other day I was kind of going through a mental checklist on everything I needed to make sure of before we get real serious here, you know. Engine, transmission, battery box, grill and radiator, and all at once it hit me, fuel tank, because it will not be under the seat anymore. It's going to be back here, and in fact I have purchased a Blazer, an 80s K5 Blazer fuel tank for the back, just like I installed on my 86 GMC, but I got a little bit more fancy of a tank. So I'm going to bolt the rear fender. Yeah, I think I will. I'm going to bolt the rear fender here and get that just kind of mocked up, and then we will see what we can do here. Alright, this outfit is from Tanks Inc. So I think I've got it where I want it, where I would be most pleased with it. Unfortunately, I will have to nibble away at some original iron, and you guys know me by now. I really dislike cutting up original old stuff, but when a guy has a project going on like this, what are you gonna do? So, anyway, don't be getting on my back about cutting up this stuff. It would happen one way or another. Then scooting forward, I would obviously have to put a hole in this panel. I don't know what forward has to do with anything, but anyway. That'll get it inside the fender, and then I just need to have a conversation with the owner on what he sees happening here. Now, 54 Chevy pickup that I've shown you in the past, I put the filler here somewhere. Mixed feelings about that. I mean, it was external on the cab at one point anyway, but It kind of messes up the look of the fender. The owner was perfectly happy with that. A guy could kind of tuck it up anywhere in here really and get it a little bit less visible. These filters have a nice or if we want to get real fancy, if we want to spend the time and the money, a guy could get a door that you lift up and then it would be streamlined, painted to match, and it wouldn't be that noticeable. So well, a guy has been cutting and welding and grinding and plasmaing and on, you know, the fabrication all morning. And I had to tell the girls in the front office, you know, Chip Foose keeps calling. I'm busy. Take a message, but I've got work to do. So I'm sorry about that, Chip, but you know how it is. Anywho's, I've got my rear tank mounts strap hangers. I don't know. I've got them put together. Once this is in, I'm going to put the tank back up and we will get our front crossbar and how I'm going to achieve that all. We'll get that all going, get that set, and then we can do that. Also, I've cleaned these up a little bit, my plasma cuts. It'll have to be cleaned up, made a lot, if I could talk, made a lot more pretty when the thing's all stripped down, flip it over, I will clean all that up. It's just kind of rough yet, just kind of difficult to grind. You know, why work that hard when before we paint it, it's going to get flipped over anyway. So, all right. here's what this guy's looking like. There are tabs on the ends. You can see now why I tapped the top ones. The threads will just go into the tube. I'm going to put this in and we'll reset our tank. A guy kind of regrets ordering factory straps, factory length straps along with the tank. You know, I didn't know how long offhand maybe they even said on the website how long the factory straps for a Blazer were. I don't recall. Not that it would have meant anything to me, because I don't know how our mounts, our tank mounts would have ended up, you know. But they are way too short, 6 or 7 inches too short, and I need to get some. Consider that I want some nice thick rubber between the tank and the cross members as well. So. Keep these this upholstery tape around all the time for just such an occasion. They are great tools when you need them. I'm thinking 47 is going to be plenty. And like I say, this is just barely over 40. So I will make some new straps. So guys, one of the few other things that I would like to know is my parking brake handle. It would have gone by measurement somewhere around here on the original transmission. Probably doesn't have to be exactly perfect. We can make it work however we need to. I think I already mentioned I want to get a case mounted shifter for this automatic transmission. And so that kind of has a cage affair going over the case here, and maybe I can mount this on that. I don't know. I haven't even ordered that part of it yet, but that might be a possibility. So I'm going to consider that. I have universal from CPP. I bought universal parking brake cable kits. So hopefully that I can adapt this setup to the 87 Camaro rear end and finish the parking brake system with that. The only other thing I do not have, it would be kind of nice to bolt in here, but I think I can get something that's already kind of tried and true, is the brake master cylinder. So I really think I am ready. I know there's going to be questions, things we redo, on and on it goes. It's just the nature of the job, but I think I have most everything I need before we take everything back off. The fan, I know the measurement for that. The headers, we know what we're doing there. Master cylinder, I'm just going to have to order the right stuff. Shifter, parking brake handle, on and on it goes. Fuel tank, I have the right stuff for shock absorbers. Steering, suspension up front is all going to be factory. Lower the radiator down, different radiator. I think I'm comfortable starting to strip it back down. So we are going to do that right now. One of the last things we need concern ourselves about before we get serious here about the frame is the battery box or tray or shelf or rack. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, here's a shot of when I had the transmission in. Looks like we have a leak. No, I spilled my coffee or Dr. Pepper or something on there. Anyway, 7 5/8 on from the frame to the transmission on that side, 6 5/8 on this side. So what I'm going to do is, well, basically this tray is sitting in here if you drew a line down the center of the vehicle, bumper to bumper, this battery tray basically sits in there parallel to that line, not parallel to the frame. All right? And they just had made themselves plenty of room to deal with the frame rail and all of that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull the battery out of the 48 Chevy once I get this all kind of set here today, before that leaves, because I want to use that same size of battery. 6 5/8 comes out to here, which is what I'm going to go off of, because to make it square, I have to go off of that. So this line here, and the same corresponding line, and I will weld a crossbar in between. I will have to remove these rivets to get the old tray out. Also don't need this brace anymore. And I'm going to make a similar brace like this for this side. And then at the same time we will bolt our new tray in there. And then I'm going to have a crossbar, and then I'm just going to come up like the 48 Chevy, just come up with a top strap to hold it in place. Now to get my 6 5/8, since the frame's on an angle and this is square, I'm going to have to notch out this much of the bottom side of the frame to get my battery in there. Shouldn't be a big deal. It's going to make it work. And then we can retain the battery under the floor, which is what I really want to do. So I'm going to get to cutting and hacking and grinding, and we will see how this goes. Okay, I chopped off one side of this. I don't need that much material since we have scooted the whole thing outwards in the frame. And on these battery tray pieces, I'm going to be using a 1/4 inch rivet. I'm going to try it cold on the 1/4 inch. Not too sure. We'll see if it works. And my setting tool, I don't even remember what size that was for. So, you know, do what we can. I gave myself a 1/4 inch. That may be way too much. May not be enough. We'll see. Huh. So that formed kind of a neat little head. You know, it looks like it has almost a ridge around it or something, but it's not sharp or anything. A guy could probably, on the sheet metal, I don't know if I want to, a guy could work that tool around and try to round down the edges also. Not sure. I have 5/16 rivets for the whole assembly. Not sure how that thing is going to work. It's what I got here today, you know. So we'll give it a shot. What am I saying? Alright, I was fairly pleased with the first rivet on here, and then they just went downhill from there. I mean, the top two are good. The bottom two, because of that angle down in there, I just could not get a good buck contact down there, and ended up finishing with a hammer on the edge of the welding table in the other shop. And well, maybe I should have just stuck to bolts, you know, machine screws. Anyway, it's on there. I'll remind you, had it been riveted on the right way the first time, I wouldn't have had to do that. But, you know, to each his own, right? So, I got these, I had the 1/4 inch rivets already here, kicking around. I've got these 5/16 ones. They came from Blacksmith Bolt and Rivet Supply, I think is what it's called. I think they were out of Oregon. Know nothing about them other than they were selling what I needed, which is a great deal, right? So we're going to get our measurement. I'm going to need let's see, what's your problem? There you go. I'm going to need 1, 2, 6, I guess. 6 down here and then 1 here. But that looks like a 3/8 bolt, and I have 5/16 rivets. I'll decide what to do about that thing later, I guess. So right or wrong, what I typically do is I cut them down to where they are the thickness of the rivet sticking out past. And that's what we peen over. I don't know how correct that is, but I'm going to cut 6 to this length and we'll see what happens. Correction, I cut 1 to that length and we'll see what happens. Like this. I think I want the finish head in there.
Bucker up! Bucker up!
Bucker up! Got cold already. Functional, yes. Beautiful, not really. Well, this is exciting. I'll give you a little sneak preview of things to come. I don't know if there's anything or any of you that have never used Summit Racing, and you know there are other outfits out there just as good, but I use them often. It always blows me away how quickly I receive my packaging, my parts. So, okay, I think this is our filler. Gas filler. Let's check it out. Yep. Same brand as the fuel tank. And I have hopes of seeing if we can contour that in with the rear fender. That would be cool. What else we got here? We'll show you that out of the box. I mean, ordinary stuff, I guess. Now it's all wrapped up. I got a Chevy air cleaner. I'm not going to unwrap that. We'll just wait for the surprise, you know. Should be a bow tie wing nut in here. Parts. What else? Transmission dipstick. Not sure. I would like to route the spark plug wires like a ram horn style, like they did at the factory. Keep them nice and neat along the bottom of the oil, or on the flange of the oil pan, and then go up the back of the block instead of going over the header, you know. So I got some nice wires and a nicely smashed box. So we'll see if I end up using these. I got kind of an assortment of those factory style hangers there. What on earth is that? Oh, spark plugs. Wanted to give them a little more protection. Got some more random, I don't even remember ordering both. Anyway, 4 wire hangers if I want to go that way. Here's the heavy. Oh, should be our torque converter. You all know what that looks like. Alright, what do we got here? Christmas catalogs, oh boy. That looks familiar, but I don't remember what that is. Harmonic balancer bolt. Flex plate bolts. Summit Performance what? Starter? Starter. Okay. Catalog. Speaker. Harmonic balancer, all taped up, and the old flex plate. So, a very good order on parts that will really help us scoot along on the drivetrain issue once we get our frame up and running, nice and painted, right side up again. And then a lot of what's going to be left as far as the rolling chassis is going to be more factory style parts. Rebuild the gearbox, rebuild the steering linkage, other than the drive shaft that we're going to have to get figured out. Really, after all of this, most everything else is going to be factory. Of course, we have the 12-volt wiring harness. We already have that going back in, so this is really all of the performance stuff I think we're gonna need, and it's exciting stuff. This will help us scoot right along. Well, my apologies for all the background noise. It is what it is right now. Okay, I'm riveting together my battery box, revisiting that. I got the right rivet set. This is an Ajax, made in America, you know, 5/16. So we're gonna get this guy red hot. Something like that. And while it cools down completely...
Hey, fuck her up, I said. Fuck her up.
Something like that. It's a pretty fiddly situation, all the layers and the tight quarters within the battery box. But we'll get it to where it works. Doesn't help I have the other side burning my hand right now. I don't like that one. Anyway, keep playing with it. Don't you find this riveting? Molten epoxy paint. First thing in the morning. Wow! You know, when you can actually get to it, get in line, it turns out beautiful. Oh well. I think I need to invest in some hose reels. They just don't want to cooperate when they're frozen overnight. That is going to do it for the great re-riveting of the Chevrolet. You know, it's just a battery box. The ones I could get a straight zap on with the air hammer, they look great. Those I couldn't, well, maybe I can clean them up a little bit with a die grinder or something. It just doesn't please me. It's perfectly fine and functional. I just want it to be better, you know. I think I said at the very beginning, which was actually like a month or two ago, the beginning of this video, that we would have paint on it by the end. I think I'm gonna go back on you and say no, we're gonna start with that on the next one. I'm sorry, but I think we're long enough, and it has been a long enough period of time that this has elapsed that we just need to move on with this video. Besides, I need a video for this weekend. So, we are going to do that. I'm going to show you two more things to make up for it, and then we're going to say adieu, au revoir. So lost among all the terabytes and the binary code is video footage of me putting this together. I have no idea. I recorded a bunch of it, but it disappeared, which isn't too surprising, the way things go for me. But anyway, I modified our cross member that we are retaining. Obviously, this was the one of the originals. And remember, I wanted to lower the back end of the transmission down 1/2 inch, and then I needed to put in a cutout so that we could get our socket to the bottom side. To the bottom side of the thing. So that should answer that problem. Clean that up and paint that. And then I got in a separate shipment. This must have come from Locker, Locar, I don't know. Anyway, one of the more exciting things that I was looking forward to getting was our shifter. Got an original style, original length, more or less, and it has the correct 700 R4, the overdrive markings on it, and then of course all your bits and pieces. Remember I said this this was a cage type that goes over right onto the case, and so that's why I'm hoping that I will be able to somehow modify our parking brake as well to attach to that, and it will all be happy and work together in harmony. So there we go. This camera does not like looking at these fluorescent lights head on, so I hope I stay in focus. If not, you should be used to it by now, right? There we go. I have dozens and dozens of parts to prepare for priming and painting, along with the frame, the front springs. I want to get all those done, paint the front axle, that cross member, the tank mounts, spring shackles, shock mount, shock absorber mounts, motor mounts. The list goes on and on. I have lots and lots of stuff that I can just jam in here and get all at one time. So we are going to do that, and that is going to take a lot of prep work that, frankly, I mean, you don't need to see another set of springs getting wire wheeled, you know, whatever. So I'm going to do a lot of that behind the scenes work, and then we will reconvene when we are putting our paint on this, and then part of the exciting stuff happens where we just start throwing brand new parts and refinished parts at this thing and get it rolling around. We still need to make a decision with wheels and tires soon after that. It really should be being made right now, but he's wanting some old school looking, more original style stuff. So this thing is gonna scoot down the road really fast, I hope, but look mostly original. So that's gonna do it. So eloquent, aren't I? Thanks a lot for watching, guys. God bless you. We'll see you on the next one.